Hi, this is Omar from DepressionHero.com, where I show you how I beat depression, and I think you can too, using the same techniques that I've learned, which I'm sharing with you. In this video, I want to talk to you about depression and spirals of negativity. And a couple of days ago I was having breakfast just over there, and there was a seller who came to sell some seashells. And I was looking at the seashell, and if you take a closer look at this, you see that it has a spiral. So it starts here in the middle and just keeps going out and out and out, bigger and bigger and bigger. And what this reminded me is, it reminded me of the spiral of negativity that happens to us when we get depressed. So when I was depressed, what would often happen is I would just get into this very negative state where every thought I had was negative. And it's exactly like this spiral. It just kind of becomes this vicious circle. This kind of spiral is out of control, and suddenly you can't take it anymore, and you just want to explode. And what I eventually started to do was just hide in bed. And so I want to bring this to your attention, because this is actually one of the main causes of depression. It's these negative thoughts. And they're actually called automatic negative thoughts because they happen automatically, because we, you and me, have been doing it nearly all of our lives. How did it start? I don't know. But at some point, it started. Maybe there was some trigger to it. I don't know what my trigger was. Maybe you remember your trigger. But I started having these very negative thoughts. So one example is, I asked a girl out on a date, and she said no. So she basically rejected me. And so one of the tricks of the mind, one of the automatic negative thoughts, is that because one girl rejected me, that means that every girl will reject me. Okay? And that's kind of a trick of the mind. It's an illusion. But inside, in my mind, it seems very real. Oh, this one girl rejected me, so therefore a whole series of thoughts, automatic thoughts come up, which is, I'm ugly, I'll never get married, I'll die alone as an old man, I'm going to become an alcoholic, and all these thoughts that come automatically out of nowhere and paint a very bleak picture. All because I asked this one girl on a date and she said no, and suddenly my whole life is over. And yet it has nothing to do with the girl. Maybe her mother died. Maybe she just got fired. Maybe she just failed an exam. You don't know this. I don't know this. And yet we're kind of storytelling, and it's just a story. It's imagination. We're fantasizing. Okay? Another one is where, because something happened, it'll always happen. So in this case, for example, because one girl rejected me, I'm going to die alone as an alcoholic, or whatever the end story is. Another one could be, because one girl rejected me, every single girl will reject me in the future, so therefore I'm a loser. Suddenly, because one girl rejected me, I'm a loser? I mean, in the moment, that's how we think, and that creates this emotion in us. And that creates a sense of hopelessness in us as well. And all it is a thought. It's just a thought. So there's all kinds of other of these automatic negative thoughts that come up that completely affect our emotions, and suddenly we become depressed. There is a way out of this, and it's just a sequence of steps. And the first step is to realize that you're in the spiral, that you've started the spiral and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with more depressing and bleaker and more negative news all the time. So the first thing to know is notice, become aware of the fact that you're in this negative spiral. The second thing is to stop it. Catch your negative thought. Oh, I'll be alone for the rest of my life. Catch that negative thought and say, to yourself, self, how is it that I will be alone for the rest of my life because one girl rejected me? She wasn't the right girl. Or, for example, you can just talk back to the mind that's talking to you non-stop all the time, habitually. Just talk back to it and say, that's not true. I'll find another girl who's more compatible with me, who has the same interests as me. You know, and just create a conversation where you oppose everything that this negative mind, this negative conversation is having. Just contradict it. Everything that this says that's negative, you say, no, that's not true, and say something exactly the opposite, something positive. And once you keep doing that, you get out of the habit of being in this negative mode. That's how you stop it. The first step is you have to recognize you're in the spiral. And then the second step is to start talking back to this negative conversation in your mind and realize that the fortune telling, where you're starting to predict your whole future based on one event, is completely false. And so you're basing your whole future on one event that is not even a real event. It's just something that happened and it really has no meaning. The only meaning it has is the meaning that you give it. So don't give it any meaning. Instead of having these negative thoughts take control of you, catch them, cut them off, talk back to them, contradict them, and replace them with a positive thought, okay? Or a positive idea. For example, thank God I'm alive. Thank God I can swim. Thank God I can run. Thank God I'm healthy. Just something like that. And once you do that, every time you have a negative thought, replace that thought with something else. For me, what I say, I know the universe loves, supports, and protects me. I know the universe loves, supports, and protects me. That's what I say whenever I start getting into these negative modes. Even if I'm in my car driving, and sometimes I actually don't remember it, and I just start complaining about the other drivers, but when I do remember, that's what I start saying to myself, and that cuts it off. So that's something that you can do, and do it, and let me know what the results you get. And if you like this video, and if you want to see more like this, go to DepressionHero.com and sign up, and I'll send you more videos. So take care, and remember, I know the universe always loves, supports, and protects me. So take care.